Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever you're watching, wherever you're watching from. This is Left of Center, a brand new show that I've started here that is basically coming from the views of myself, who is considered left of center. You may also remember me from my other production, In the Middle, which I do still do with TJ. We're just on a little bit of a break until we can get our schedules more in line to do more episodes for you, so stay tuned while we work on that. But thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I want this to be not just me all the time, although this first episode, you guys don't know too much about it. But like I said before, I'm left of center. There's a lot of Democratic policies that I agree with more than Republicans, Republican views, which is why I consider myself just to the left of center. There are Republican views that I do agree with, which I'm sure I'll be discussing in the future. But ultimately, I will admit that I do feel like I do align more with the democratic values, such as universal health care and things in that sort. But this here show, I just want to start off by thanking everybody for tuning in. Go to my Facebook group, facebook.com/sgb.loc. That's SGB as in Stupid Genius Broadcasting. .loc as in left of center. Like me, share with your friends if you enjoy the show. I'm hoping that this becomes more interactive. Basically, what I would like you guys to do is, as you think of topics or things you see on the news, hit me up on the Facebook group, or even feel free to follow me on my political page, which is facebook.com/SGB as in Stupid Genius Broadcasting .Mike. Reach me either way. I'll be happy to respond. We can even have some fun debates if you post in the Facebook groups with other individuals who may not feel that way. And I just want to make sure that everybody knows that it needs to stay family friendly. Let's all get along. Understand that people have different opinions, and that's okay. We do live in the United States of America, where we get to have our own opinions. And this is basically what this show is going to be based on, is everybody sharing their opinions and allowing me to comment on them for whoever cares about my opinions, that is. But at any point, I really wasn't going to do a show like this, but then with the, was it about 21 days ago, or actually it was 26, so about 23 days ago, there was the insurgency that essentially happened on the Capitol. And, when I seen that, it got my blood boiling, because we had just gone on a break on In the Middle, and I was like, all right, well, I can't get a schedule with TJ going. I'm going to have to do a spinoff here, and I need to figure out how to engage with more people to see if they agree with me on this here situation. Starting off here, I had a friend ask me on Facebook, basically saying that there was no evidence that the insurgency was caused by Trump, and he's not really a pro-Trump individual. I'm not really too sure which spectrum he's on. I think he's kind of just against most government. Not really too sure. I don't want to quote him or anything, but he did say here that basically there was no evidence in what he said at the rally that should say that responsibility of the rioters storming the Capitol does not lie on Trump. And yeah, you're absolutely right. No, there is not one particular thing that he said at the rally that would have essentially caused a riot within the Capitol building. It's the 4 years prior, plus what has been said, what had been said at the rally, the Save America rally. Has a nice little tone to it for a peaceful protest. But when you start off your Save the America rally, Don Jr. is quoted essentially saying, "Take your government back from the rich. It's time to take your government back from the weak," and such quotes such as that. Then you have Giuliani, which is my most jaw-dropping quote of the whole rally was, was time for trial by combat. Yeah, that's not something that's going to spark, some sort of insurgency. Um, Sounds totally peaceful. Trial by combat. By the way, Giuliani, how about trial by wallet? Because now you're being sued by Dominion for, what was it, 1.3 billion for false information. But even at that, I mean, we'll get on to Giuliani and all the treasonous things that I feel that he does, or at least in my opinion, treasonous things that he's done, as well as the Trump administration has done throughout the 4 years. But just focusing on the insurgency, let's take a look at his playbook for the past 4 years. He's called multiple sources of news fake media as soon as the media doesn't agree with whatever it is that he's doing. I mean, Fox is a prime example of that. Him and Fox were the bestest of friends. They were galloping through the forest as the best of friends, but then, things started to turn south, and Fox could no longer essentially protect him the way that they had been, without being more blatantly obvious about it, which is okay because CNN does the same thing for the left. So, okay, you have to have one of those sources, which is why I try to stay, in the middle. I read both Fox, I read CNN, I am MSNBC, I even read Newsmax, but ultimately, when it comes down to it, with all of these things that Trump has said as far as attacking the media and that they are the fake news and all of this, when you put into people's minds that that is the presence of the world that they live in and they're following you, you're creating a delusion, and it's a delusion that he essentially took, and he knew what he was doing, and he was using that delusion to be able to win himself an election. Thing is, I think this thing got way bigger than he even thought it would be. 70 plus million people. That's how many voted for Trump, but I don't know how many of those people actually feel. I would say it has to be a good 30 to 40 million, and I'm just throwing a number out of the air. I'm not going to say that is the number. 30 or 40 million people think that this was a rigged election and Joe Biden is not the president. That's an absolutely the most false statement that could ever be made, and the evidence behind that is that it's gone to trial a multitude of times. It's failed. It's been thrown out a multitude of courts. Security advisors have stated that it was the safest, the most secure election that had ever occurred, and there, of course, there's always, people want to jump. Oh, there was a guy there was a fraud committed. The fraud that was committed, most of that fraud isn't even legitimate fraud. They're mental mistakes, which I don't know how you make the mental mistakes, but this is how they claim it, was that the individual had sent in a mail-in ballot while they were residing in, I'm just naming a state, let's say Georgia, and then their job moved them to Alabama, Texas, wherever. They would then, on voting day, they went and voted in Texas as a resident of Texas or whichever state. At that point, the vote from Georgia, the original vote that was mailed in, and then that vote, they see that and they go, okay, well, wait, we have one individual that's voting at two different areas. Well, that's where the audits come in, and they say, okay, well, one of those votes have got to be thrown out, if not both. I'm not really sure of the law on that, but I believe they would keep the one legal vote, say, hey, this is where you were residents, this is where you were supposed to vote, then this is where the vote counts. But that's so minuscule. It's like a fraction of a percentage. It's so small that those little things will never overturn an election. At least I would be shocked if it did. I mean, I'm not going to say nothing will ever happen because I also never thought Donald Trump would become president, but it happened, and anything is possible, so I'm not going to say no, it'll never happen. But essentially, moving back to the insurgency, it's these lies that fed the fuel. It was like the barn fire was there, and he's pouring gasoline and pouring gasoline and pouring gasoline. Then finally, when the backs were to the wall and there was nowhere else he could go, not only did he throw his vice president Michael Pence underneath the bus and say we could trust Mike Pence to do the right thing, and the right thing is exactly what he did, is follow his constitutional oath, which Trump apparently forgotten of. He went ahead and he certified Biden as the winner of the presidential election. But he was trying to throw his vice president on the bus, trying to say that he could stop the election from being done. So now, getting back to where the match finally went flying up in the air and essentially came down and landed on the gasoline, is you definitely can't say that trial by combat did not fuel those flames. There's actually video footage, which if I knew how to put together, because I'm such a terrible video productionist, which is why I have no beginning credits. I can't figure out how to do that yet, but I wanted to launch this episode. Or if I did figure it out, it's probably very minimal and probably ridiculous. So we'll see if I figure that out by the time I want to launch this out. But anyway, at the end of it, you have to basically come to the conclusion that, again, no, he did not say storm the Capitol. That would be more insane than I think he is. But by saying we're going to march, and Giuliani saying trial by combat, Don Jr. before that getting on saying that he wants that we need to take our government back from the weak. That's all you need to do is flip that match, and that's what caused it. There's even video footage of people saying to the guards, to Capitol Police, as they were trying to get into the building and they were stopping them, this is what Donald Trump wants. Again, no, Donald Trump did not say go storm the Capitol. But yes, if you can't see that, maybe I'll need to put together a video log of all the violence that he's tried to push within his 4 years. All the lies, all the manipulation. Look at the Justice Department. How many times have we turned hands on the Justice Department? Anytime anybody opposed him, they were thrown out, insulted, lost their jobs in whichever manner. He ran it like a mafia. And, it's sad because a lot of people, a lot of world leaders who are now thrilled that Trump is gone, have actually stated that dealing with him was like dealing with a mafia, and it was not something that they looked forward to, which is why they didn't deal with him too frequently. And now that Joe Biden is in the White House, they are finally saying that they have a friend again in the White House. This is not what allies should be saying when bringing in a new president. That's not what the American values are. We are the leaders of democracy. We are the leaders of the free world, and these countries look to us, whether you like it or not. We are the leaders, and when we have insurgencies like this, it's a threat on democracy. And if this can happen to the leader of democracy, where can't it happen? And that is where, that puts fear in a lot of people's eyes. I've talked to people internationally that ask me what's going on. We never expect to see this in the United States. I mean, I try to travel abroad at times, went to Italy, and I felt like I had to apologize for Trump being in office because of the way that he's treated our allied nations with tariff wars and whatnot, while buddying up with Kim Jong-il and North Korea and Putin in Russia. Putin put bounties on our troops, and he did nothing about it. People of the military service, I can't figure out how you could support him. Especially when he's called someone like John McCain, who is a war hero. He said that he wasn't a war hero because he was captured. That to me is a slap across the face to anybody who's served in the armed forces, which regardless of any branch. So how you could support somebody even after saying that and you serve in the military, I can't fathom that. If that's okay for you, for him to disrespect somebody who served honorably in our military, I don't know, maybe there are thoughts that go across my head that I'm going to hold my tongue on, because I really don't want to disrespect, and I don't want to make it, I don't want to make this a disrespectful show. I want to keep this respectful as much as possible. But maybe think about, if you were in the military services, think about the oath that you took to protecting the Constitution, and think about what Trump has done for the past 4 years. If you really understand the oath, I think you'll understand more of where I'm coming from. But essentially, with that, as well as, Trump is the commander-in-chief. Was the commander-in-chief, and during the time of his presidency, current generals had turned around. No, they didn't speak against Trump. I would never expect them to, because their oath isn't to the President of the United States. And I wish I remember which general stated this, but he had stated straight up that we take orders from the President of the United States, but we do not take illegal orders or unconstitutional orders. I might be mixing my wording around, but it's a generalization idea is there. But ultimately, when that happens, when a general is saying that, that to me speaks louder than the words. That to me is saying, hey guys, don't worry about it. This guy ain't gonna do anything illegal. He's not going to start a nuclear war with somebody without it being an actual reason for it to happen. Now, why did we have to have a general come out and say that? Lots of people were fearing that Trump just might not like something and go, ooh, boop, there goes a nuclear bomb. I seen a quote not too long ago. It was a little Facebook meme that said, Trump is the kind of individual that would start a nuclear war, but fly around in Air Force One until the dust clears. And you know what? At first I laughed about it, and then I sat there and I'm like, yeah. He actually showed me evidence of that during the insurgency. During the insurgency, just go ahead and rewatch the video. I'll direct the quote from him, and you could quote me if I quote him wrong, but I know I'm not, because I'm looking right at it. He has stated that we're gonna march onto Pennsylvania Avenue, and I'm gonna be there with you. He wasn't there. Where was he? Well, videos show him in the White House having a little cocktail party with Don Jr., John Jr.'s girlfriend, Ivanka, and the rest of them. That's what he was doing. He was watching everything on TV. I'll tell you what, the fact that he also didn't pardon anybody as a part of the insurgency, that shows how much he cares about you. He had an ability to pardon anybody who was a part of that, and he did not, because he expects everybody to be loyal to him, but he does not feel the requirement of loyalty to you, unless there's some sort of business deal that he needs to show that to make the deal good, and if you understand what I mean. Now, for other words, putting on a show. But I just, it's funny, not funny, because in the middle with TJ, I had stated during election day, or whenever they had certified the elections, or not certified, when they came up with who the winner, the projected winners of the election, I said that was when they well, I didn't call it insurgency. I said there's going to be some sort of civil war where people die. And sure enough, it happened. It happened during the day that he was supposed to be certified. I really wish I was wrong on that. And I said back then that I would hope I was wrong on that. And it's sad that people lost their lives following someone who's followed the same playbook as Adolf Hitler. He attacked the media. He fed falsehoods into the brains of people. He beat it into them until they believed it. This is what Trump did. This is why Trump is a failure in his presidency. Everything people say he was a great president and whatnot. No, I don't see that. Unfortunately, this brings up my last part of the episode here, is I'd like to try to keep these around 30 minutes. Trump has messed up our country so much that unfortunately I hate executive orders. I hate them. Hate them. That's not how you should govern. That's a king. That's how a king governs. I didn't like him when Trump did it, although I don't think there was any executive orders that I liked of his, or any policy. I can't think of any policies that he did that I liked. But Biden had to undo a lot of awful things that Trump enacted, things that were killing our climate, our Earth. Climate change is something that's very serious. People want to turn around and say, "Oh, he lost 100,000 jobs due to the fact that the Keystone Pipeline had the kiboshes put on it." Well, yeah, that's 100,000 jobs now. 100,000 jobs now. But in the future, there should be, I believe the projection was between 300,000 to 400,000 jobs. 400,000 jobs, due to the fact that now solar plants need to be implemented. Solar panels need to be made. This is a whole new industry. The fossil industry is done. Fossil fuels and whatnot, they're the thing of the past. Even if you had this Keystone Pipeline that was going to go through, within the next 50 to 75 years, it's useless. Because according to science, and I trust science, there's going to be no fuel to pump out of the earth yet. So General Motors just stated that they're going to all green by 2032, I believe it is, 2035. More and more vehicles are going electric. Now that means that electric stations need to be implemented, which is going to help create more jobs as well. So, looking into these executive orders that Biden has done, I want somebody to tell me an executive order that he's put out there that hurt America. Now, I'm also going to tell you this. These executive orders don't mean jack. All they do is they're a temporary solution. They're putting a Band-Aid on a surgical wound is what they're doing right now. There was a gunshot to the head, and right now what Biden is doing is he's starting by slowly putting the Band-Aid on, and eventually we'll be able to get surgery and fix it all up. These executive orders are that first Band-Aid. This is how I see it. Unfortunately, he needed to do them, get us right back on track, get COVID. The COVID bill gives us another, what is that, $1,400, I believe it is. We're going to get another $1,400 because Democrats wanted to get $2,000 previously, but for some reason that fell through. I can't remember why. If somebody wants to remind me, although I'm being facetious. But with that being said, we're going to get another. Well, if you're making, I think it's 150 or less. I think it's 150,000 or less. You're going to get another stimulus check of $1,600, and then hopefully, and more vaccines are coming. Right now, the push for herd immunity is essentially getting those vaccines going. Whether you're an anti-vaxxer, or, if you are an anti-vaxxer, I understand. I can't debate you because you don't trust science. I do. One person said the other day that one individual died of it. And I was like, okay, well, first off, they don't know that's the reason. That's fake information. She cherry-picked information. It's still going through investigation. It was shortly after they received the COVID shot. But we don't know anything else about the situation. We just know he got the shot. I mean, for as far as we know, he could have had a heart attack with something that's non-related. And let's even say that it is related to the shot. I will take my odds. I think I heard on the news there's about 30 million doses. I can't remember. I think it was 30 million doses that have been, maybe it was 15. No, I think it was like 15 million doses have been put out. And I responded that, if that is the case, that one individual did die and there's 15,499,999 other people that are fine, I'll take my odds with the 0.0000001%. This virus is no joke. The Defense Productivity Act, which is also within that coronavirus relief program, that has been fully enacted to help maintain the exports of the vaccine and the creations of the vaccine. That's something that should have been done back in April of 2020. Unfortunately, Trump just sat there and twiddled his thumbs and just I still don't know what he did, but we don't have enough doses because he didn't put a big enough bin in for them. Multiple other sources, which you don't know how reliable they are because they are a part of the Biden administration. But they basically stated when they looked at the records that the Trump administration really didn't have much of a care to get the vaccine. Whether it's true or not, I'm not saying that it is or isn't. The actions show to me that that's true. Maybe not to you though. That's a matter up to interpretation, I guess. I just can't think of any executive orders that he's put through that we don't need or is going to hurt us in some way. He also signed, going off the top of my head here, the Made in America Act, where basically government agencies are required to buy, if necessary, products from America, made in the United States first, before looking abroad for whatever it is that they may need. And in order to get that Made in America stamp, you need to have a higher percentage of your product made in the United States. I want to say it's 75%. Don't quote me on that. Essentially, so that's going to, again, open up more jobs for Americans here in the United States, because those products, whatever they may be, are going to be in the United States. Just as I wrap up here, I just want to, as my father's favorite daytime televisionist, oh man, what's his name? Jerry Springer. He likes to do the final thought. So my final thought today, my final thought on this here is that, Trump's out of the White House. We're done. We're not done with him. I think we're done with him as far as, I don't think he'll step foot in politics again. If he does, he'll split the Republican Party, because he'll probably go underneath his own party. And he'll split the Republican Party, and then, at that point, the Democrats are just going to probably win every election if that happens. I really hope he stays out of the Republican Party and goes away, because I don't think it's good when all of one party rules. I think that's how things go extreme. I think there needs to be a good balance. I guess we'll have to see where it goes. But with this insurgency, at least in my view and everything, I feel he's a treasonist. I feel that the 4 years that he spent pushing hatred, I wish I could figure out how to play video clips to show you, where he said, beat that mother flubber. I'm trying to keep this kid friendly here, but beat people up and this and that. That's not presidential. That's not what we need. That's not what this country is. This country, although there were things that Obama did that I wasn't very fond of, more presidential like Obama, or even GW. I mean, GW had his quirks because the left hand didn't know what the right hand was doing. Nobody ever knows that. So. I just want to thank everybody for watching. I really hope you guys engage with this. Like I said, go to facebook.com/sgb.loc. Like my Facebook group, interact with me. Follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/sgb.mike. Also go to my website, Stupid Genius Broadcasting, to get these exact episodes here. You'll want to put /LOC, or from the menu button, just go ahead and click on left of center. You can also feel free to watch old episodes of In the Middle with me and TJ. We have two opinions on the matter, and it's a really good show. I hope you guys enjoy it. I really hope to hear from you all. Keep in touch, and I just want to say thanks again for tuning in. Thank you very much. Take care. Be safe.